Jawari yang ponse, jawari yang ponse mi jawari yang ponse mi jawari yang ponse, jawari yang ponse mi jawari yang ponse yang ponse yang ponse. Here I am, Beston Barnett, Beston Joseph Arnold Andres Mabwamba Barnett. I sort of always wanted to be a musician, and most of my friends in Nashville were musicians. Often their parents were also in the music industry, so it was pretty easy. I never went to school for music or even had a teacher particularly. I went to school for engineering and came out an electrical engineer, worked for IBM for a number of years. It was not terrible, but like it wasn't actually what I wanted to do with my life or anything. And so at some critical point, I sold off all my stock options and became a full-time music guy. I ran a record label for 10 years called Art Hurts Records, put out my own stuff, but mostly kind of world music things. I put out records I made in Ghana, records I made in Brazil, and then transitioned kind of by accident into making furniture. I took some classes, and then I took some more classes, and then I realized I'd taken a lot of classes, and I'd taken all the classes, in fact. And so set up a shop and started selling furniture on commission, and here I am. I think I've just covered my entire life story, except I also got married and had a kid. This is a Japanese handsaw, which in many ways is totally different than a Western handsaw. You pull it, and because you pull it, it can be made super thin, like this, and because it's super thin, it makes a cool noise. Wait, one more. Furniture makers are either making stuff on commission or they're making stuff on spec. Those are kind of the standard two terms, and spec is more like art. You're making something and then trying to sell it to someone. Commission, you've already sold it, right? And that is a much better way to make furniture. So when you work on commission, you've already paid for the wood and off you go, but it also means, you know, you're not necessarily making the most exciting thing in the world unless you can talk your client into something weird, which is the whole reason why I make spec things. I make spec things so I can show them to clients and they can be like, oh, that's cool, I'll pay for that. I should have, like, in the best of all possible worlds, it would be like 50% commission, 50% spec stuff. There's not really a gallery that sells spec furniture in San Diego. But I've gone off the deep end recently with a lot of this Islamic geometry, and I'm like 90% spec these days, which is probably not good for my sanity. This is like a good example. You know, sometimes I'll make something and then I'll just try out a number of different ways of dealing with the pattern. A feeling of rootedness is pretty important, but I'm not interested in being like a traditionalist, because that doesn't sound very interesting to me, right? So it's like, what can we do with the roots that don't betray them, but also is something new and interesting? I lean towards the making it up as I go model of both furniture design and guitar playing, but it's all built on a structure, especially music. I know music theory very well. Most jazz musicians know music theory very well. You could be playing with 4 people you've never met before and a song you've never played before, and somehow it like all comes out fine because it's jazz, like it's cool. For me in music, it's all about the African diaspora. Like it has to have a root in Africa or I'm really not interested. It happens that almost any music in the Americas has its roots in the African diaspora. I don't think I've been successful, particularly as an artist, largely because I've been so sort of uncompromising.